Welcome everyone, my name is Doomasect, and I am being joined by goddammit Pat himself, Mr. Shatinthehat. Say hello.
Hello.
I made him say hello with my mind.
Mind powers.
Mind powers. The reason that we haven't done a Pokemon Flame Wars video in so long, right here.
It's entirely my fault.
Right here
I admit
himself.
it right now.
No, me and Boo Pat could have easily gotten one out that time. Anyway, we're talking about World of Tanks.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Woohoo.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
World of Tanks. There's gonna be coughing. I'm just getting over being sick because it's that time of the year.
It's never that time of the year here.
Yeah, some of us don't live in Hawaii.
Well, I mean, also, some of us need to live in Hawaii that don't.
I would sweat my ass off in Hawaii.
It's true.
And I would also...
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about World of Tanks. We've got a few topics we're going to talk about, and no, the one you want us to talk about isn't today. It'll be in a later video. Trust me, it will.
About how they need to add them their Italian tanks.
No, that wasn't even remotely what I was going for. But hey, you know what?
They need to add Italian tanks.
Since we're getting started into this, we're going to go in a backwards order of things we really wanted to talk about. So one of our lesser topics that we don't really have a lot to say about is RNG.
RNGesus.
Yeah, it's a thing. It really is. There's a lot of things in World of Tanks that I like, and there's a lot of things like what we're going to be ranting about that I hate. So, RNG is probably one of those. Probably one of those things.
When we were coming up with the topics to talk about for this video, chat brought up RNG. And this is my issue with RNG.
Alright, lay it on me.
I understand we need RNG. I understand most games use some kind of RNG. And even though I acknowledge the fact I don't enjoy World of Tanks RNG, I also acknowledge the fact I have absolutely awful luck.
It's true.
So I can't really say anything because I don't know if World of Tanks has bad luck, or if World of Tanks is giving me, bad RNG rolls, or if I'm just generally, I don't have good luck.
I've always considered myself someone who's moderately to slightly above average lucky.
Tarmogoyf on your second pack of magic cards ever.
Whoa, exactly the second pack. Anyway, it's not the point of this issue. I've always been decently lucky, and I feel as though I'm not an expert, and I'm not really, really skilled at this game, but I still feel as though, there are just certain times where it's just I know where I was aiming, and I know that shell did not go where it was supposed to. There's a number generator in there somewhere telling you, oh hey, today we're going high and right, because you know why.
I will say this. Like I said, I mean, obviously I can't put too much into this, because bad luck. I have noticed there are a lot of people that complain about RNG. And I've also noticed there's a lot of people that don't complain about RNG, and I'm wondering if the people that have no issues with it are the people that are having the opposite problem I have. Because I'm not gonna lie, if every shot I fired hit and penetrated, I mean, I wouldn't have a ton of error to, complain.
I know, but I think that's the opposite argument to RNG is if everything was so dead accurate that it's just point, click, boom, and it just hit straight dead center every time, that'd be genuinely annoying. I think even then it would be to the point to where it's either overpowered in one way or another.
It would be way overpowered. There'd be no point to
a
lot of things, but
right.
The one I want to bring up big time is there's two guns. It's two of the more overpowered tier 5 guns, I guess you would say. You definitely think the one's overpowered.
Here we go.
OI Experimental's gun and the BDRG-1B, I think that's what it is. It's big gun. Both of them have very high pen and very high reload time, and do quite a bit of damage. I seem to bounce with those guns. It's significantly more noticeably than I do with, like, any other Tier 5's guns. And I think, I think one of the reasons I notice it more is obviously, there's a significant reload time on both of those weapons, but it is annoying when you fire at something, your shell bounces off, and you have to wait 11 seconds before you can fire again. Especially when they're things you can pen. Like, when you shoot at an arty, and it's like, how did I bounce off something that has armor that I should have just ripped through?
Literally paper.
Like, its armor should not have protected it. That thing should be, like, even if the shell didn't go through, that vehicle should be crushed.
Just the weight of the round just bends the metal over on top of itself.
Like, the people in there are dead.
Right.
Like,
okay, and
there should have been such a cacophonous noise inside that particular vehicle that those people are bleeding from their eardrums.
Speaking of bleeding from your eardrums, why don't we go ahead and talk about one of the other things we're here to talk about today?
Rihanna?
Which... No?
Damn.
I don't think that was it. You might be spoiling another video. I'm not sure.
Under her umbrella. Ella.
No. Get out of here, Lady Gaga. Quit your shit already.
I think that's
okay. No. Another one of the topics we wanted to talk about was size of battle. Now, it is important to note that we both only play random battles. So we only ever get put in the 15-15s. We're not in competitive battles. We're not in clans. We're not in historical battles. We're not in any of that. We don't play those. So we only play random battles.
Clan.
No, you're not. Just stop lying. Stop lying to these people. So when we talk about size of battles, the battles we're talking about are the 15-on-15s. And there's a few other things we're going to talk about inside of the subject, but for the 15-on-15s...
1v1 me, bro.
An arena battle would actually be cool. It would actually be cool. Like, if you could just literally take one tank of one, like, whatever you wanted to try versus another one and just pit them against each other.
So
that'd be awesome.
This obviously isn't something we talked about before we did this, but I have thought about this for a very long time. I would love to see a 1v1 battle system implemented. I think whatever tank you pick, you should be paired up with a tank of the same tier and the same type. So if you do a tier 3 medium tank, you should be paired up against another tier 3 medium tank. And they could do,
absolutely.
Like, they wouldn't even have to really do it randomly. Like, you could just get into a thing, pick a tier 3 medium tank, and sit there and wait, and somebody could come along, see that you're in a tier 3 medium tank, see that they have to choose their own tier 3 medium tank, and they could fight you. And right. I personally, I think there's a lot of people that could make arguments against that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I personally don't see how it would be so broken that, it couldn't be implemented.
I don't think it would be broken, but I think that particular match style, compared to some of the other ones we're going to talk about later, is going 100% against what Wargaming is trying to do.
Though they're trying to make it a
team-based
yes.
strategy. Right, exactly. So I think that's why we'll never see that, but some of the other modes that we have talked about, which would be cool and possibly more competitive, is possibly a smaller map selection, such as, I don't know, 7 versus 7, or maybe even 10 versus 10.
Oh.
Just something to where there's less players going on, to where you can just kind of... There's more dependency on yourself to perform in the match. Because I know sometimes when you get into a 15-15, you just have 3 to 4 players that just carry the whole team, and you have, like, the rest of the team, like, barely do, like, 400 to 500 damage on a side. What if the match was only 7 versus 7? You have to perform. You have to perform for your team, or else you're just going to go along and just get demolished because you didn't hold your side, or the flank that you were on, you didn't do any damage, so that flank just got steamrolled, or, just any number of other things. So I think that 7 versus 7 matches, or even 10 versus 10 on smaller stages, fuck you, Wide Park, would be good. I think it would be good. I really do. But
Hashtag bring back port.
Right?
Bring back Dragon's Ridge or Dragon's Peak or whatever the hell. The only map I never got to play on.
I don't know. I mean, there's another completely another topic we could talk about if we wanted to get into it.
True.
But
we'll
pencil that one in for later.
We'll hold off on that.
So another thing that we were talking about before we got started here today was 30 versus 30. And that goes completely against the other opposite direction about what I just talked about, but you said you had some they tried to do this, Phil, or what happened?
When I first started, which I was actually going to look this up, that way I could enter that input in, but I think it's been, 2-3 years now?
10,000 years ago.
When they first started, I was playing the T-34 against the Tiger. No. When I first started, I think I actually started like a month after they introduced Chinese tanks. But,
okay.
There were topics in the forum about 30v30, even at that point, and there was a lot of people that had said, Wargaming had, no, not only that, I remember in one of the updates, they had mentioned, in one of the ASAP videos, they had mentioned about trying to do the 30v30 battle system, and they talked about, there's obviously software limitations.
Okay.
Not only that, but I don't know if I'd want to do 30v30. Okay, I take that back. I would definitely try out 30v30. There would be times I would
100%.
I would just be doing 30v30 all day. Because it would be complete, stupid, random craziness.
Fact.
Not only that, but I feel like the moment you introduce 30v30, you have to also introduce 15v15v15v15. It's just like...
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
It's just like, hey,
okay.
by the way, craziness.
That is something I hadn't thought about. So then you would have your own team of 15, and that kind of like pushes what they're already trying to do, which is the whole team-based thing. Only now the map is, I don't know, you amplify it by 4 or by 3, or you just throw everyone on wide park and say, F it, and then you just have everybody just brawl out. I'd be down for that. That'd be some cool craziness. I'd try it at least.
This is the thing with like a battle system like that. I feel like it would be 5 minutes. I mean, there'd probably be...
it would be so fast.
No, it would be like 5 minutes, and there would definitely be... Most of your team would be destroyed. Probably an entire single team would be taken out by that point, before you got to the point where there was any kind of tactics being used.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything before that would just be craziness. It's just absolute chaos. But I also feel like that with the 30v30, I feel like the start of that would just be... It would honestly...
Pure mayhem.
It would honestly be like 10 tanks from one team doing something stupid, getting killed, and then the other team just rolling over the team that got messed up in the beginning because they're down tanks.
Yeah, I could see that. Or people just trying to maximize their damage output by just rolling over the small team, rack up a ton of damage by shooting them, and then trying to use that momentum to go all the way around or push through another side or something. Yeah,
definitely.
I can see it.
Going back to the small battles, though.
Okay.
I know we play later. We have played later. In the day, especially, in my neck of the woods. And when we do that, there is far less people on the servers.
Absolutely.
And not a lot of people already play lower tiers, so like if we play a tier 2 battle, there have been multiple times we've gotten into like 5v5 or 7v7 happens a lot, which is I think one of the reasons we kind of brought it up. And it's a very, very different game than 15 versus 15. You have to play... when you have the people that just rush out and they come at it like it's a 15v15, and that, even that one person that rushes and gets killed, the other team's already at that much more of a disadvantage, and it's a much more conservative, tactical game. I mean, you've gotta really pull your punches, because if you're down 2 tanks in the beginning, you're done. the other team has won.
And I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why. Like, I think that should, like, it shouldn't just be like, oh, sorry, there's not enough people for a 15-15. We'll just throw you in. We'll just throw you in a 7v7. There should be an option.
I'd like to see it as an option.
Like, I don't want to deal with more than 6 other people on my team. Like, that's it. I just want a small team. I want to go up against another small team. I think that should be an option. It shouldn't just be like a random roll of the dice.
That is another one of the things I will say though with that is, I feel like in a 15v15 battle, if half your team just is awful, they go out, they rush, they all die, or something along those lines, like the other team pushed real hard and took out half your team. There's a lot less chances that you as a player can bring it back. As compared to a smaller battle, I feel like you still have that option.
Agreed. I totally agree.
And
I mean,
that, in my opinion, creates a lot more epic games. Not only that, but there's the exact opposite side to that coin where you're on the other team, and I know these don't happen to us very often, but they have happened, where our team, for some reason, just raffle stomps the enemy team. Like 14-0.
It feels good in that dirty kind of way. You're just like, oh yeah, and give me that win.
It's one of those things where you're just sitting there like, wow, I mean, we won, but I didn't do jack shit.
Right.
Especially if you're in a slower tank. I mean,
yeah.
You've done nothing. You drove that game. Congratulations. Here's your ×2 win of the day bonus for driving.
Congratulations on being in the KV1. You drove 3/4 across the way of the map.
Congratulations for selecting this tank. Here's some credits. Yeah, that happens, and like I said, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it is one of those moments. It feels like I would have rather have contributed more to that win, but
just couldn't.
Yeah,
couldn't get there in time. Picked a slow tank.
Yeah, that it happens a lot because we do play a lot of slow tanks.
Right. All right. So another thing I wanted to bring up and I wanted to talk about today was actual platoon sizes.
Only him.
Only me.
Only him.
My idea. Putting my foot down. This one's me. I got it. So, platoon sizes. Only being able, and this is on the PC, mind you, only being able to platoon up with 2 other people at a time maximum, I think is a very strange, hard limitations. Like, I get it. Like, the random battles are supposed to be that. They're supposed to be random. But at a certain point, like, we can both attest that it's so much more fun, even when you only have one other person on your team that you're talking to while you're playing. Like, that small amount of strategy and information you gain from just one more person is enormous. And it makes a big difference. And I would have a lot more fun if I could have a platoon of, like, 4 other guys, and we just, like, go through and, like, all hold, like, a whole single flank, and we just push through and win the whole game, because the other side was just, like, not there, not doing anything, you know? Like,
so, I do wanna interrupt you.
Alright.
I know there's team battle. I haven't looked into team battle hardly at all, but from what I've mostly seen about team battle is I feel like this is a higher tier thing.
Yep.
I don't know of many people that would be like, hey, let's all get into like a 7v7, because I think I want to say team battle 7v7. I can't say that for sure. That, I know there are other limitations to it. Like, I can't really go into it, because like I said, I haven't looked that much into team battle. But I would definitely like to see something where, you could do you and maybe like 4 of your friends all in a group, and, maybe not even making it, random. Maybe making it be like, hey, we're all playing tier 3, we want another group of 5 people playing tier 3, and doing something like that, which I think is what Team Battle originally tried to set up, and there might even be a way now to make it like that, but for the life of me, I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know. Like I said, neither one of us are in a clan, but I'm pretty sure the team battles are only available when you are in a clan and if you are in a tier 6 tank and above. I think those are the two limitations for it. Or maybe that's the limitation for Stronghold. I can't really remember off the top of my head. It's one or the other. But it's just like I was saying though. I really think that like even in random battles or in another game mode entirely, like to be able to be with more people at the same time would just be really cool. And I think that's what some of the appeal is, and a lot of people will just say, well, why don't you just join a clan? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is just me, but I don't really like people. I don't know. I know it's weird. I don't really like people.
We don't.
But at the same time, like I feel as though like a lot of the clans out there, or at least the ones that are actively recruiting, all require these really stringent requirements, or it's in a language I don't speak, and it's just like, no thanks. I'd rather just go on my own and lose on my own. Thank you. Okay, bye. And I feel as though like if you could have like a slightly bigger platoon size that could act as like, I don't know, a mini clan, or they could use some other word for it. I think that would be fun.
Clan.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. Like I think
Rhymes
like
with mini fan.
I mean it certainly does. It certainly does rhyme. But I mean that was just something
Ignore him. He's an idiot. We're trying to
be. It rhymes. Trust me.
We're trying to be serious over here. I did actually just look up Team Battle, and they said the ideal, or the typical lineup for a team battle is 5 tier 8 tanks paired with two tier 1 tanks. That is the typical team battle lineup. So, that is very much not... It has a point system, which I thought it did. That is very much not what we want to be looking into.
Definitely not.
Because I do feel like if you did we just have 7 random people get in. They choose vehicles for their tier. Let's say the chosen tier is, 4.
Okay.
I feel like you could still do a point system for certain vehicles, because obviously you don't want to go up against the entire team of Matildas.
Oh, baby, I was just about to say, tier 4, everybody hop into Matildas, let's raffle some.
Although, now that I think about it, I would love to get into a battle of 5v5 Matildas. That would be so much fun. Great.
Oh, the gold. The gold would be the end of that battle, but that's something else entirely.
5 Matildas against 4 Matildas in a headset.
All right, well, this kind of introduces our last topic then, and it's something that I think has been my biggest gripe since I've ever started playing, is matchmaking. Matchmaking. You hear it all the time. You see it all the time in the chat, like matchmaking sucks, or matchmaking doesn't like me, or RNGesus, pray to RNGesus, I got good matchmaking. You know, all of it. You see all of it. You hear all of it. But
I have no idea
one of the biggest things. One of the biggest things that always bugged me was, why is it set up the way it is? Why, as a PZ1C, am I able, willing, and more times often than not, going up against tier 5 heavy tanks that I can't do anything?
I'm going to interrupt you real quick, because you didn't get the PZ1C. You got the PZ1C after I did. Because originally the PZ1C was a scout tank.
Scout tank, yeah.
And I was going up against, tier 8 tanks.
Yeah, some Tigers, or some fucking...
that
RL-44s.
Those were fun times. The RL-44 would have been, the smallest thing I was seeing per battle.
Oh, yeah.
That is not where you want to be as a tier 3 tank.
Absolutely not.
In the PZ1C, I almost want to be like, oh, I'm relieved, it's tier 5, but I'm not. And the one way we've found to remedy this, it's very simple. And that is, pretty much make everything like it is at tier 2. At Tier 2, you will face Tier 1 tanks, Tier 2 tanks, and Tier 3 tanks. You fight the tier below and the tier above.
Yes.
And
nothing more, nothing less.
I have never, for the life of me, understood, because they obviously at some point have revamped things, and I don't, for the life of me, understand why in a Tier 5 tank, you're fighting Tier 3 tanks and Tier 7 tanks.
Right? I mean, like, I know personally, because KV1 is my tank that is most played, I bring it up the most. I know personally, when I'm in a KV1, and a Tier 3 tank rolls up on me, I don't even look at it. I don't care what it is, because 90% of the time, that tank can not only not hurt me, I could probably kill it in one shot.
Well,
so it's not even worth my ammo to shoot at. It's just not.
I mean, it probably is. You're going to get points for it. But, I do agree with you on that. Like, if I play a game, let's say I'm in a Tier 5 tank, let's say PZ4H, and I get 7 kills, and all 7 of those kills are like Tier 3 tanks, I don't feel I had a good game. It's like, oh yeah, I killed 7 tanks. I killed 7 tanks that are 2 tiers under me.
And you got the derp gun on, so all you had to do
all I had to do was actually hit them.
Yeah, and I mean, that's always been my biggest thing, because, like, when I started playing, obviously I petered around Tier 1 to 3 a lot, and that was, like, my biggest, like, it's a really big step up. You notice it the first time you get your first Tier 3 tank, it's like, what the hell are all these Tier 5 tanks doing in here? Like, I don't understand where the logic changes.
I think it's less that. I think it's more even at Tier 1, fighting most of the Tier 2 tanks, you could hurt them. Like, maybe the only exception was at the time period, the T-18.
The T-18 front, yeah. Don't worry, friends, we nerfed that to oblivion.
Oh yeah, it's gone. But, I mean, there are a few, but there aren't many. As compared to when you're in a Tier 3 tank, the first time you go up against Tier 5 tanks, you can't do anything. I remember it, like, very clearly, being extremely happy the first time in any Tier 3 tank ever, I hurt a heavy tank.
Right?
And that
was
an
achievement. That
was in the Cruiser 2. The Tier 3 tank with the massive derp gun for Tier 3. And I think I did like 50 damage. And I was like, oh my god, I hurt a Tier 5 heavy.
And I mean, like, the PZ1C probably wasn't a great analogy, because a lot of people will make the argument, oh, well, you're just supposed to spot. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do in an AMX-38?
Die. You work hand fire.
I'm sorry, what was that? You don't have very good pen. Oh, load gold. Oh, okay.
You still can't get through.
50 pen with gold, and your top speed is like
2.
30 to 20 miles an hour. Yeah, you're probably not very useful that battle, Bob. And the heavy tanks are just gonna look at you as lunch.
See, you say heavy tank. I'm over here sitting here thinking of the T-34, the PZ-34. These tanks that are more armored than you, have a bigger gun than you, and frankly, like,
you're not gonna pen them.
As you're sitting there driving, they're doing circles around you, just like, hey.
And you did.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
these
tanks
that don't even need to shoot you, they can just ram you.
Right, and I mean, like, my heart just goes out to, like, all the small, like, slow, less armored vehicles of the Tier 3s. Is just like, it gets so much rougher, the grind from, like, Tier 3 up, just because you have to deal with that whole 2-up system. I think it would really rein in the grind, and it would really rein in a lot of the, I would say, bad feels moments, because I mean, nothing feels worse than, like, getting one-shotted when you're in a 38 or you're in a PZ1C by the Tier 5 heavy that's loading a derp gun. It really sucks. Like, you feel bad, because, like, like before that happens, like you're thinking like, well, what could I have done different? Well, I guess I should have gone the other way, or maybe I should have done this. And the reality is, you just shouldn't be paired up against the tank.
So I do want to bring that up. One of my first battles in a tier 3 tank, it was before you started playing the game with me.
Okay.
I was in, I think it's the M3 Stewart. I'm wanting to say that's the name of the tank. I can't. It's the American tier 3 light tank. So I'm in it. I'm still fairly new to the game. It's one of my first tier 3 tanks. And so I'm sitting back. I'm in a tier 5 battle. I'm sitting back with Artie because I really don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Obviously new. Don't really know about scouting that much yet.
Less than 100 battles new.
Yes, it comes down. It's me and this piece of Artie left. We're hiding. And I decide, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. The Artie ain't gonna do anything. I drive out, and there's a KV-1. I just end up ramming my tank into it. It doesn't do anything. And the guy driving the KV-1 or playing the KV-1 just starts going off in chat. It's like, oh, you're an idiot, you know. And there's one of the guys on his team's like, well, he was in a tier 3 light tank. What was he supposed to do?
Right.
And that's kind of how I thought. I mean, I know Boobhat has recently, well, I mean, not recently, it's probably been close to half a year now, started playing the game with us now.
Yeah.
And when we get into tier 3 battles, I can tell he doesn't like it, because we get into battles with tier 5 tanks, and he's like, what the hell am I supposed to do against these? You shoot at them, you can't hurt them.
It's a waste of ammo, really.
Obviously, again, he's new. He doesn't know how to scout. And even at that, I mean, like, even with us, I myself, I know how to scout. I can scout really good. I don't usually like to. If I'm in a tank that I feel comfortable in scouting in, I'll scout. But if I'm in just like some random tier 3 light tank, like let's say the Soma or something, that I'm essentially just playing because I'm hoping we got into a tier 3 battle, I'm not scouting in that thing. It's like,
hang back.
It's more of, let's just drive down the middle and get this out of the way. That way we can get into another battle.
Yeah.
Because it's dumb.
And it's a shame, too, because, like, the Soma is another one of those tanks that just falls into the category of you can't scout even if you know how. It doesn't have enough pen to do anything, and it just kind of, like, you're stuck. You're in that grind of a tank. And I know that, like, every time you play a match isn't to, like, oh, try to fund all these credits and experience to get to a tier 10 tank. I get it. Like, sometimes you just find a tank and you like playing it, but it's really, really hard to find a tier 3 tank you really like, just because the opposition is so much better than you. It just really is.
Oh, this issue especially. I know there's gonna be people that will always, they'll be the naysayers against this, and they'll be like, well, oh, you know, you guys are just bitching about matchmaking, you know, they're gonna bring up all these points that are, you know, the obvious reasons that aren't gonna work, and I'm just sitting here, it's like, what kind of person is going to sit here and defend, you know, making a matchmaking being, you're limiting it to the tier below and the tier above. The only kind of people I can think that want this kind of matchmaking, not the tier one above and one below, but how it is now. The only kind of people I can think of that want this are the kind of people that can't fight things of their own tier, so they pick on the lower tiers.
Right, and I think that, like, another reason why
I got 10 kills in my KV-1. It's like, oh, good for you. Were they all tier 3?
Well, I mean, you gotta pick on the tier 3 tanks are just chaff. But I mean...
No, I got the tier 5 Artie too.
Oh, wow.
It's like, congratulations.
No, we're not... We promised ourselves, no, we're not talking about Artie. We're not doing it. That's another video. I'm sorry. That's the topic we're gonna talk about later. I can't... too much hatred in my body to talk about Artie right now. But, I mean... I think in conclusion, I really don't see an issue with only going one up, one down. I think it would really, would it make queue times a little bit longer? Maybe.
I'd be okay.
Hard to say. I mean, for the lower tiers, possibly, but I mean, for the higher tiers, probably not. And I don't really think the argument holds well. Like, even when you get to like tier 7, 8, 9, and 10, like if you're in a tier 8 tank, do you want to go against a tier 10
See,
tank? I mean, maybe.
That's
I don't
one
know.
of the things. I think it's one of the reasons they do this. I've heard, obviously, we haven't gotten any thing above tier 6,
right?
Despite playing a game for several years already, but I've heard tier 8 tank. I believe it's either tier 7 or tier 8. Once you hit that tier, you can go up against the higher tiers relatively well. You can hold your own.
Okay.
And that's definitely... I've seen people talking about this actually in the World of Tanks forums, which are forums, so they're obviously already an awful place, but besides that, I have seen them talking about lower tiers, and there definitely being this kind of big stigma that at lower tiers, you die very quickly.
Right.
Which, I guess we're just used to that, so...
And I've watched some higher level plays, and to be honest, like, some of the times where we will just die... God damn it, Dolphin. Some of the parts where we will just
Motorized
die...
dolphins.
Right. Oh, dolphins are lovely. Will just be because we're out of position for a second, and you just take a hit from a tank higher tier than you, and you just die. That's how it happens. I mean, it will just happen that way. Whereas of the higher tier matches I have watched, you can be out of position, and you can take a hit, and even if it tracks you, I mean, you know how to snap off a repair kit, and then you can back up. Like, the health scales so much higher in the higher tiers.
Definitely.
So I mean, maybe that has something else to do with it. But I'm really a firm believer. Like, even if in a tier 7 tank you can hurt tier 9s and 10s, I don't really think that you're getting a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Probably,
like, I just think that it'd be just better if you just faced only a tier above you and a tier below you. I think it makes it more fair. I think the groupings will be better. I think the matches will be tighter. Might there be more some 7v7s just because not as many people are on your tier? I mean, maybe, but again, I don't see that as a drawback. Like, I don't see a tier 7 or a 7 versus 7 match as being a drawback. I really don't. But that's just what I think about it. I mean, that's just me. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to bring up today. I know we talked a little bit for longer than we said we would.
Well, it's fine. If people stuck around to watch it, thank you. I do want to bring a few more points up on just what we were chatting
about. Rapid fire, let's do it.
Rapid fire. Crossfire. So definitely with the damage thing. I know there's one of the big things about being in a lower tier tank going up against a higher tier tank is you're supposed to get more experience for damaging a vehicle of a higher tier.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know if that's true or not, and even if it is, by how much more you're getting out of it. Because, I've been in a, tier 3 tank against other tier 3 tanks, have done fairly well, have gotten a lot of experience. I've been in a tier 3 tank up against tier 5 tanks, have also still done very well. I'm getting, it's maybe 1-200, difference of experience. And to me...
Not much.
To me, it's
not enough to make it worth it.
It's not enough to make it worth it. Exactly.
Right.
I would have much rather that battle had been against tier 3 or tier 4 tanks. And while definitely on top, we bring up tier 3 and 4 a lot because I know personally for me, I try to give tier 3 some credit because I do enjoy a lot of the tanks at tier 3. Tier 4, on the other hand, I know you and me, we try to just avoid tier 4 like it's the plague.
Yep.
And part of that is, one, because there's a lot of really, really bad tier 4 tanks. And I think the other issue with that is, I know since I've started playing, I've seen very, very few tier 3, tier 4 games. They're almost always tier 3, tier 4, tier 5.
Yeah.
I know for a fact when I got the Mastery Badge in my M3 Lee, it was a tier 4, tier 3 game, and I was top tank.
Well, yeah, because you can actually hurt everything.
And that was
The
great.
M3 League deserves some credit. I think it gets shit on a little more. I don't personally enjoy it, but I understand it.
I will defend the M3 Lee and the AMX-40. I don't think either of those tanks get as bad, or should get as bad of a rap as they get. I know why they
the
do.
AMX-40 is garbage.
The
AMX-40, the M3 Lee has got a little bit more leeway.
The AMX-40 isn't bad up against other Tier 4 tanks, with the exception of Matilda. Or another AMX-40. Like, if you're going up against either of those things, nothing's going to happen. But against everything else, you're pretty set. But obviously, again, you don't often see Tier 4 battles. You're up against Tier 5s a lot, and those aren't tanks you're supposed to be going up against Tier 5s with.
Right.
I mean, I think with maybe the I'm trying to think of the handful of tanks. The Matilda, the Hetzer, and the probably T-40. Or maybe like the...
those are the only 3 tanks that come to mind at Tier 4 that are, 1, any fun to play in Tier 5s and 6 battles, and 2, can actually do anything
I forgot,
in Tier 5s and 6
about,
battles.
Tier 4 tanks in Tier 6 battles.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't worry about a Hetzer slamming around against an RL-44. It can take that, bro. Don't worry about it. It's probably fine.
You're not going to do anything. Even against a stock RL-44 with the Hetzer Sturp gun, I doubt you do any damage to that thing.
I mean, you could track it if you know where you're aiming, but I don't know.
Congratulations,
and again, this just comes down to, like, I think Tier 4 would suck even less if it only had to go up against Tier 5s. Like,
it definitely
there's no reason.
It'd be a lot more fun.
There's no reason Tier 4 tank destroyers should be trying to take down Tier 6 heavy tanks.
No.
Like, those tanks are way superiorly armored. Like, even if you know the weak spots on the tanks, like, it's still really hard.
It's extremely difficult. Even against Tier 5 tanks, trying to take, use Tier 4 tank destroyers to take things down. It's not fun.
No, but I'd say it's a lot more doable.
It's a lot more doable,
and I'd
sure.
say that your average damage per minute against a Tier 5 heavy
that was the
is
point.
Way better
that's kind of the point I was
Tier
bringing
6.
up, though. I mean, it's already difficult in that 1 tier range. The moment you extend that to another one, it is brutal. It just
balloons out of control.
You don't want to be in those kind of battles.
No,
and at that point,
not even maybe.
At that point, it's like you kind of get in that mindset of, why am I in this battle? You don't try. You're not being any kind of help to your team at that point. And a lot of people will just be like, let's just drive down the middle, die, and get out of this. Or, do the stupid thing, drive off the cliff, die, go back to the garage, hopefully get into a battle you want to be in. And that, at that point, it's like, you're down a tank. A lot of times when that happens, those are supposed to be your scout tanks. And you're down scout tanks then. And it's just like, this could have all been avoided if we had scout tanks, like, just a tier below what we're at.
Yeah. I agree, 100%. I think that matchmaking is probably the biggest gripe and concern. Or maybe it's the second. But
before we do wrap the video up, I also want to bring up the point of, I think this is probably the single... I do agree this is probably the biggest issue with World of Tanks, and I think it is probably the single biggest issue of why people leave the game. Like, when new people come in, because I've heard it said before, World of Tanks has a absolutely brutal learning curve.
Oh, yeah.
And this definitely does not help it at all.
And I think, like, just from what I've been able to experience, like, when you try to talk to other people, like, and this is again talking about higher tier battles, and if you're looking for clans and other things like that, like, they don't even take into account how well you've done until you've played a minimum of 5,000 battles. Just because they don't think that you can even come close to resembling to mastering, or even coming close to having a grasp of the master of the maps at that point. That should say something about the game, of how steep the learning curve is.
Yep.
5,000 battles. Like, okay, let's be honest. The maximum time you're in each game is 15 minutes. We all know the average is around 7 to 8 minutes, but still, that's a lot of time to even come close to being, quote, average, or even being looked at. Like, it's insanity, really. Like, 5,000 battles is a lot of battles.
Yep. Well, I do believe that is the points we're going to talk about for this video.
I agree.
Appreciate the like and subscriptions if you want to see more of this. And definitely add your comments down in the bottom. I know this is a rather, I suppose, kind of controversial subject and everything, and I am interested to see what other people are saying about this, because I know as of recently there's been a lot of people that haven't, or like World of Tanks has kind of gotten this bad rap as, for a lot of people, new people especially, leaving the game and not coming back, or just a lot of people that used to play the game and have left and have not come back. And I feel, looking into some of these objects, which I know Wargaming has been, it's something that needs to happen, otherwise the game isn't going to be able to continue to go on.
Which would make me sad, Panda.
It would make me sad, Panda, too. I mean,
yeah,
we've had enjoyable moments
even with all of
game.
our gripes about it. Like, I genuinely like this game. To see it go away just because the learning curve is so steep that other people don't even want to try, or they get discouraged once they get the first tier 3 and just get literally
it doesn't help. Like, at the time period we started playing World of Tanks, it was pretty much just World of Tanks. There's other options now.
Right.
And I know when War Thunder Tanks came out, a lot of people left World of Tanks. I think, from what I've heard about War Thunder Tanks, a lot of them came back, but still, that's not something you want to have happen. You don't want the new game to come out and everyone just hop ship on it, just being like, get me out of here.
Speaking of ships, boop boop, warships. That's another topic. I think. Yeah.
Until next time, everyone, watch out for bears.